I was scared of the dark as a child. It's a common enough fear. Many children share it. The difference is, I was scared not of the darkness and being unable to see in it. It was the things I could see in the dark. As a child, I slept on a love seat in the family room of my home. My mother, Sandy, despite having a room of her own, slept on the couch next to my love seat. A small table connected them in the shape of a reversed letter L. My love seat faced the direction of the TV, which was up against the same wall as our house's fireplace. But there would often not be a fire, and for my first few years, the TV would be turned off at night. The room would be plunged into pure darkness, and in my mother's sweet memory I say, God, did I hate it. I was a very frightened child, often scared of boogeymen and nightmares like one about a demonic fiend who resembled Zorak from Space Ghost hiding in my fridge, among other dreams. Many a night I awoke from a nightmare and began to see sinister shapes in the shadows against the wall with the fireplace staring at me. Most of these creatures have faded from my memory, but one sticks out in my mind. It was the figure of a cartoonishly tall and thin man with no distinct features, other than what appeared to be a cowboy hat on its head. As time went on, life began to seem scarier than some of my nightmares. Shortly before my 8th birthday, my great-grandmother, who I and my sister Erin called Old Grandma, passed away in her sleep. A few months later, my mother died of breast cancer. After that, my temper grew worse and my thoughts grew darker. I watched horror movies religiously, studying them and using what I learned to terrify my classmates and neighbors. By the time I had reached high school, my temper and behavior were in better check, though my mouth still often got me in trouble at school. I remember watching a horror movie that featured a character called the Shadow Man, and curious if he was based on a real legend, I Googled him and came across something called shadow people. One thing that caught my attention was that they were often described as wearing a hat. I immediately had a flashback to my strange encounter with the strange shadow as a small boy, and had to wonder, was it really just my imagination? It's been several years since then. I still love to scare people, and most of the time, I have no problem going for long walks in the dead of night, with the trees in my area blocking most of the sky and some areas of the roads and sidewalks. I sleep in a completely dark room, and hate it if light comes in while I'm trying to sleep. Though I'm more insecure about the grave than ghosts these days, I still wonder about that strange evening. My mother told me before she and I moved into the house with the rest of our family that the spirits of a little boy and girl haunted the house, and if a man entered the house, they would either slam doors or be heard running up and down the stairs to the upstairs. My uncle scoffs at the story and refuses to believe it, but sometimes I wonder.